¿Crees que tienes control sobre la propiedad de tu información con el uso de las nuevas tecnologías, tales como redes sociales, internet y telefonía móvil? ¿Tenemos un derecho a la privacidad? De ser así, ¿este ha cambiado? ¿El gobierno protege o invade tu privacidad? ¿Las compañías privadas tienen la obligación de protegerte? En el ámbito internacional, la discusión sobre la protección del derecho a la privacidad ante las nuevas tecnologías lleva años presente en el debate público con y entre gobiernos, compañías privadas, activistas y la sociedad en general. En México, este debate ni siquiera ha iniciado. Parafraseando a Eric Schmidt, el CEO de Google, tenemos que tomar esta discusión con seriedad. Si la sociedad civil no se pone las pilas, descubriremos en unos años que ya no tenemos privacidad. Para explorar este tema, he invitado a un experto en la materia, Steve Zipperstein, quien actualmente es el consultor jurídico en jefe de Blackberry. Steve cuenta además con 30 años de experiencia trabajando como consultor jurídico, tanto para compañías privadas como Verizon, como para el gobierno americano en el Departamento de Justicia, participando, entre otros casos, en la investigación sobre lo ocurrido en Waco, Texas, en donde se desató una masacre con la intervención de las autoridades policíacas en el recinto de la secta de los Davidianos, dirigidos por su carismático líder David Koresh. Yo soy Malkah Nobigrot y esto es Vis-à-Vis. Steve, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It's lovely. We're going to start by framing a little bit the discussion in terms of where it is expressly stated that you have a right to privacy, either in the Constitution, the American Constitution, or for that purposes in the Mexican Constitution.
Well, the U.S. Constitution has the Fourth Amendment, which is generally viewed as the foundation of all privacy rights at the federal level in the United States. Although, interestingly enough, the U.S. Constitution does not use the word privacy anywhere. Now, the states are free to add additional protections when they want to. California, my state where I live, for example, has an express right to privacy in our Constitution. But to go back to the Fourth Amendment provides that people have a right to be secure in their homes, in their belongings, in their personal effects, and that they are to be free from unreasonable search and seizure, and that any search or seizure may only occur upon a warrant, upon a showing of probable cause, based upon the oath or affirmation of an officer of the law. And usually when courts deal with whether a search was legal or illegal, one of the very first questions that the courts ask is, did the individual have a reasonable expectation of privacy? And if we think about that in the digital age, then that gives rise to very, very complicated and very interesting questions.
There is a physicality to the home, the person, and their belongings as well. So, but in this digital era where you have the information that is not in the possession necessarily, strictly speaking, of people, courts have been a little bit reluctant to extend the full amount of rights in the Fourth Amendment in this digital era. What has happened?
Exactly right, Malkah. And think about it. When we go to the store and we use our credit card to buy something, we expect that our credit card number and the list of things that we bought will stay private, right? Or if we use our telephone to call a phone number or to have a conversation with someone, we expect that is a private situation.
Sure.
But in the digital age, now that we have internet, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have LinkedIn, people are putting their information out there into the cloud, putting it online, and courts are saying, well, if you're willing to put your information out there for the world to see, do you really have the same expectation of privacy? Just look at what happened with the actress Jennifer Lawrence, who put her photographs on the iCloud, and there was a hack. And of course, she felt that her photographs were private, they were her personal possession, but yet she put them out there into the cloud where they were vulnerable to intrusion and hacking. Yeah. So it's a very, very fine line now in the digital age, whether or not when we engage digitally with each other, we are able to say that we have the same expectation of privacy that we did prior to the digital age.
But I think that the concept of privacy is changing.
Exactly.
And it changes from one society to the other one.
That's right.
And we're not, I think that people are not fully conscious. Their expectation of privacy is, as you would do in any computer. I think that we have to educate people.
Yes.
In order, so speaking of that, should we have the privacy conversation after the birds and the bees conversation with youngsters, especially that are putting out their information in the net and being vulnerable in a way to hackers and other unexpected
Absolutely.
people that are going into that information?
Absolutely right. This is of great concern to parents now because children want to share, teenagers want to share their photos. They want to put online all of the things that they did at the party last night. But once you hit the send button or once you click the mouse, you've lost your ability to control that information. You've put it onto the internet, you've put it into the cloud, and it's there forever. So parents do need to educate their children about what can happen when you use a computer to transmit your information. Now, in my company, in BlackBerry, this is something that we've been really focused on, really ever since our inception, how to enable the miracle of modern age digital internet communication, mobile communication, but at the same time to maintain the privacy of that communication. And so with BlackBerry, and by the way, we're very proud to say that over the last 8 years or so, workers in Mexico, in Mexican factories, have manufactured more than 140 million BlackBerry phones. I don't know if you knew that, Malkah.
No, I didn't know
We're
that.
very orgullosamente hecho en Mexico.
Mexico.
It's BlackBerry. So we have an encryption system that encrypts your emails, that encrypts your BBM, your BlackBerry Messenger messages, and ensures that they can't be hacked by outside parties. In fact, in BlackBerry, we don't even keep the key to the encryption. We don't have the ability to decrypt or de-encrypt your traffic. We have no visibility whatsoever into the content of the communications of our customers.
That is very interesting. Now, I think that it's pertinent to ask, what is big data and what is data mining that is so commonly used? Those terms are fundamental for this discussion.
So big data is, think of big data as everything that goes into computers. Healthcare information, patient information, credit card transactions, telecommunications information, the location of cell phone users when they're using their cell phones, because after all, mobile phones now have GPS chips inside.
But it's interesting because with the Fourth Amendment, before, that information was protected.
Absolutely.
And now, for instance, your geolocalization, that was something that you really had to protect and you needed a warrant to be determined. And now with the phones, everybody can see where you are at.
That's right. And in fact, you know that when you use your phone, because, for example, if you use your phone as a map, or if you use it as a tracking service, if you use Waze, or if you use our BlackBerry mapping service, that means that you realize that the phone knows where you are in order for it to direct you to where you want to go. And so because you know that your location can be tracked, that your location can be identified, do you have a reasonable expectation of privacy in your location? I think most people still do, by the way.
Of course.
I think that if you were driving down the Reforma and you received a text message all of a sudden saying, Malkah, this is Sunborns. We know that you're 100 meters away. We wanted you to know that we're having a sale right now on a certain product. Would you like to come into the store? If you receive that message on your phone, you might be a little bit freaked out, right? You might think, how do they know I'm here? How do they know that it's me, Malkah, and not somebody else who might be a man who might have a different interest in a different product? And by the way, what business is it of theirs that I'm driving down Reforma anyway?
So it's interesting what you're touching, because the Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches and seizures by the government.
Yes.
But what can society do to protect against companies that are just accessing our information without regard for our privacy?
That's right. So the technology is moving very, very, very fast. And regulators and policymakers are really in a game of catch-up, trying to keep pace with the change in technology. And some of the things that we've begun to see in the United States and Canada, and especially Europe. Europe is really leading the world in data privacy, data protection for consumers against intrusion from companies. So you see Europe really taking a very hard look at Google, at Apple, at some of the others, to make sure that there isn't an abuse of the private information of consumers.
Yeah, but it's a question of oversight as well.
That's
because the problem is that there is, speaking about big data,
Yes.
you can access that information always. I mean,
Yes.
it's very nice that we have these warrants and these laws that protect that information, but in reality, anybody who has some knowledge of the web can come in and access that information that was under the laws that we had previously protected.
That's right. That's right.
So
and
that is
we need to
changing.
make sure that hackers are thwarted in their ability to illegally mine the data in the cloud, as exactly what happened to Jennifer Lawrence, for example, when her photographs were stolen, or as we've seen with some of the other big data breaches, Target, Home Depot. There have been several examples. Aetna, many examples recently of data breaches.
Right.
So we need, on the one hand, to have regulatory controls to make sure that it is more difficult for hackers to break into systems, which means we need to increase our cybersecurity efforts to protect the data of customers. And at the same time, we need to make sure that if there is a breach, if there is a hack, that customers are notified as quickly as possible that there was a hack, so that they can take appropriate steps to protect their
Courts
information.
can protect them as well, because
Precisely.
apparently remedies are not granted that easily in courts.
Precisely. So this is why BlackBerry is now really playing a big role, and we're going to play a bigger role in the future on both ends, to protect against intrusions because of our encryption, because of our world-leading, world-class secure mobile platform on the one hand, and on the other hand, to make sure that if there are intrusions elsewhere, that we're there to help customers. For example, when Sony had their big breach recently, which was suspected from North Korea, the first thing Sony did was they went into their desk drawers and pulled out their old BlackBerry devices and moved back to BlackBerry to protect their traffic.
Let's take a little break and we'll continue with this conversation.
Very nice, wonderful.